what do you see as the dominant media in terms of billing dollars 10 years from now?
Social media. Social media in terms of a single social media, conversational marketing, and word of mouth, nearly $50 billion, is just an extraordinary rocket ship going forward. But what's important to recognize is that social media doesn't exist without other media to drive it. So Facebook at this point is not really social media. It's not social marketing, it's a social medium, but it hasn't developed social marketing. Where social marketing is going to evolve is with established and trusted media brands. Brands like CNN. American Idol has a strong social component. Any show that has a strong fan base, every fan club is going to be a social media property, and fan clubs exist around almost every major television show and the talent in those shows, but the media companies are not monetizing those fan clubs. They don't have those databases. The fan clubs have grown up separate from them. Now they'll begin to capture those databases and they'll learn to monetize them through social media. And marketers will want to be a part of that, and they'll pay to be associated with those fans. So it radically changes the nature of our business and puts a lot more emphasis on content. We used to say that, or the way it is today and the way it's been for 5 decades, is that marketers were content agnostic and they focused on the platform. So they had network TV buyers, you had print buyers, you had radio buyers separate. Now they're becoming platform agnostic and focusing on content, and they're associating themselves with that content across multiple platforms. So it's really an interesting and major change in the fundamental dynamics of our business, and we're just beginning to adapt to the reality of that change. And I think the single most important and opportune shift and transformation is our business is the growing importance of content.
So if I understand you, content is king.
You say the content is king. I say content is king, and I think it will be for the next several decades, but the king needs a new wardrobe. We can't just say content is king and expect we can monetize content on a standalone basis with traditional 30-second spots or ads that appear in it in a magazine or in a newspaper. Content needs to build social media. They need to be built out across multiple platforms. They need to have a clearly defined brand, even merchandising opportunity. So we basically need to dress our content in new ways. We need to look beyond, is it reaching a large and relevant audience to us, and therefore we insert our advertising into that content. It's much more of an immersive, involved partnership between the content creators and the marketers. The Super Bowl, everyone's talking about what's your favorite ad. My favorite Super Bowl ad didn't appear in the Super Bowl. It appeared in Glee after the Super Bowl, when the cast of Glee, integrated into the program, did a music video for Chevrolet that was reminiscent of Dinah Shore singing "See the USA in Your Chevrolet." And that was one of the most brilliant examples of relevant, appropriate, brand-specific product integration that I've ever seen. And it's appropriate that it was Chevrolet, because when they did the Dinah Shore show, she sang that song every single week.
Jack, what do you see as the future for broadcast, one of the legacies?
Well, broadcast network, I'm a huge fan of. I think broadcast network has some of its best programming ever. Because of the dynamics of multi-platform distribution and the multiple windows for distribution of content, it reinforces keeping programming on the air for a longer period of time, because you can monetize it more effectively. You've got audiences coming to it from not just the network, but from Hulu and ABC.com and TV.com. You've got distribution in DVD, you've got Netflix, and now we've got Roku and Boxy. So I think network television programming is going to become more and more high quality, I think the economic dynamics are very strong, and it's still the last place where you can aggregate mass, or mass within, today's definition of mass. So my forecasts out to 2020 show broadcast continuing to be on a growth spurt. I don't think it's going to be double digits or even high single digits, but certainly broadcast on an annual basis is going to see growth of 2 to 5% annually for the next decade. So, and that's nice money. And then you add to that the digital revenues, you add to that the distribution revenues, you add to that the retransmission consent revenues, and you have a pretty robust industry that's still strong. TV stations, I think that they're more challenged. It's more difficult economics, and I think they have to reinvent themselves in many ways, as newspapers should have, but never did.
What do you see the trend for print, particularly newspapers?
Print, first of all, I don't see a great future for media that don't have a video component built into them. So I think magazines are, with tablets and other distribution devices, are recognizing the importance of video and alternative business models. That's why we've seen the kinds of management changes that we've seen at Condé Nast and Hearst and Time Inc. and Meredith that are all positive, and I think focusing on new and different business models that go beyond just the page. Newspapers are going to continue to struggle. I think we'll see distribution shrink from daily to every other day and even weekly in some communities. I think news is a commodity, and it's going to change the nature of reporting. We're seeing more and more local blogs, blog sites growing and gaining relevance and importance in their community, and we're seeing companies trying to find ways to aggregate those blog sites. We're seeing the incredible success of the Huffington Post, which more and more people say they read the Huffington Post every day instead of the New York Times every day. So I don't think the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal go away. I think USA Today is in a leadership, making an effort to take a leadership role in moving toward digital. We see the Daily, News Corp's new effort, probably investing way too much money in it, but at least making an effort to reinvent digitally the daily newspaper. But the print, I think print as whether it's books, whether it's newspapers or magazines, while I don't see print disappearing, those companies are not going to be able to survive on a print-only basis, except in a penny saver or weekly newspaper type of format.